You guys are my new coworkers. So, working hard or hardly working?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 216 of the Psych Files, in which we're going to talk about working remotely. Since I work remotely, I've thought about doing an episode like this for a while, but then a couple of things happened, and I thought, this is really a pretty interesting topic. So I hope this will be interesting for you if you work remotely, or probably will at some point in your life. So several years ago, I was given the opportunity to work 2 days a week from home. And then I went to 3 days a week, and then finally it's full-time from home. And why not? Because I work on the computer. Basically, I work with college teachers, helping them to deliver their online courses. So I don't really need to be in a cubicle somewhere. Although I imagine a lot of this has been spurred on by the cost savings. If you can work from home, then why pay for the lights and the heat, the air conditioning, and all those things for you to come to a building? But I wanted to look at this from some psychological perspectives. So, some advantages and some disadvantages of working from home. First, the upside. The employee saves some money, right? They decreased cost. You don't have to travel. There's decreased cost of gas, right? You don't even have to get out of your pajamas until it's 10 o'clock in the morning and you say, hey, I'm working in my pajamas. I guess I better get changed. So you can save time, save money on gas. I'd like to increase flexibility myself so that if one of my kids has to go to the doctor or has to be dropped off somewhere, I can work my schedule around that sort of thing rather than having to come from some workplace a half an hour away or more and come home or meet the kid at the school. You can do this. This kind of flexibility is really one of the great things about working from home. You can take a break and get a sandwich. Now, some people might put that in the disadvantage category because, people do ask me, what do you think about working from home? I mean, you got the refrigerator right there, right? You do have to learn to discipline yourself with that, and that can be hard. Disadvantages. You're working from home in your pajamas. So, you can wake up in the morning and check your mails. You might do your email. You might happen to see a work-related email, and then you go, I can solve that. Well, let me just, I'll respond to that. And then the next thing you know, time has passed, and you have been working, and it's 7:30 in the morning. It's half an hour later or so. So the work interferes and comes into your personal life, and you used to have those boundaries, but now the boundaries are not there anymore. If it snows too much, you used to not be able to go to work. And so, hey, you kind of got your day off. Now, not so much because you're working from home. There's a real mushiness to working from home or working anywhere right now, because now you can go when you couldn't work, as I do, let's say at a coffee shop. If you get yourself a little MiFi, although there's Wi-Fi just about everywhere, you could work from anywhere. You can work from libraries. You could work. One time I worked from my car. I had my little MiFi on there, and I'm working on my computer. And I don't know why I needed some quiet space to make a phone call, and so I went out to the car. So you can work from anywhere, and well, again, that's sort of an advantage and a disadvantage there, I guess. So there are some costs involved, though. Even though you save money on gas, you had to have a computer. But the company has to give you a computer. They probably gave you a computer anyway. Cell phone, you have the internet access. So advantages and disadvantages. But let's talk about the effects on job satisfaction and on your motivation. Now, one of the key theories on job satisfaction is called equity theory. It's very simple. I love it. I love equity theory because it just gets you right. It just has that intuitive appeal to it. And this was the theory that when you look at your job, either one you're thinking of taking or the one you currently have, you compare your inputs, the things you bring to the job. It could be your experience, the number of years of experience, your degrees. Maybe you have special skills. So it's you bring a certain amount to the job, and then of course the job compensates you, right, with primarily salary. But you get other forms of compensation, like you might get the ability to work from home, or you might get a large office. You might get some extra equipment, bonuses, vacations, right? Your company offers you these outcomes. So if you think of it in terms of a fraction, on the bottom is your inputs, on the top is your outcomes. You'll be satisfied so long as you feel that these two things are evenly weighted, right? If you bring in a collection of skills and experience that you think is a 10, let's say 90 out of 100 or something, and you feel that your job, you got good pay and benefits and a big cushy office with a fireplace, and you get a 90. So, you think, well, this is fair, okay? So that's one way we compare within ourselves, but we also compare to the other coworkers, right? So we look to see what the other guy is doing, and is he working hard or hardly working? What inputs does that person have? How much experience do they have? How many degrees does that guy have? Right? What skills? And if he has the same skills as I do, and he's getting the same pay as I do, then, that's okay. So I'm probably satisfied all the way around here. I feel like my job compensates me fairly, and the other guy down the hallway, he's fair too. Even if let's say the other guy down the hallway has fewer skills, but's making less money, well, that's okay. That makes sense too. Right? So he comes in with an 80, but he gets an 80. He's paid less. Although, last thing I want to talk about is pay transparency. Often we don't know what the other person is paid. And as it turns out, research tells us that it's better if people know what other people are paid, because we tend to underestimate how hard other people work, overestimate how hard we work. When you don't know other people's salaries, there's a lot of room for people to make mistakes in their perception. And when they do, it usually is a mistake that makes them feel worse rather than better. All right, so let's talk about this equity theory in terms of working remotely. So there's some problems working remotely, right? Because whereas before, let's say even a good situation, before I felt fairly compensated, the guy down the hall, he looks like he's fairly compensated, or even the guy at the other end of the hall, the girl at the other end of the hall, she's got more degrees than I have and has been working here longer and gets paid more. Well, that makes sense too. But now when I'm working alone, I'm making guesses right and left. I don't know what the other person's doing. I can't see anymore. I used to be able to see. If the guy down the hallway came in late, left early, put his feet up on the desk and read a magazine, or always seemed to be doing that as I came by, if he or she takes breaks a lot, I can't see any of that anymore. So it's really weird now when you work remotely, because the only way to see or to guess whether or not people are working, now your boss might know, but I don't know. It's like I work in a group of about 20 people. I have no idea what they're doing. So how do I know? Well, you have emails. So are they sending emails out? You have chat. So are you on chat? The other day, I sent a idle chat out saying, hey, did you catch that movie the other day? Now, that's something you would do if you were both physically at work, right? And, you'd walk by someone's office and you say, hey, did you catch the Oscars? But now, if you're working remotely, if you chat something out that is sort of meaningless banter, what does the other person think? Geez, this guy's sitting around, talking about the Oscars. Right? It occurred to me that the other person might think, hey, he's got nothing to do. Right? Look at this. He's sending me these silly chats. I think the other way related to this would be the only time I get to even see my coworkers is when we're doing a WebEx or a webinar, let's say. Now, what happens when now you're going to be seen, so you can't be in your pajamas. So now we have, psychologists refer to this as impression management, basically, and it is quite a field where psychologists study the things that we do to manage the impression that we believe we're making on other people. And you do this all the time, no doubt. You say things to another person to make sure, or hopefully to make sure that that person is getting the proper impression of you. But what happens is, so you might do, sometimes I'll lie on one of my couches with the computer on my lap here and whatever, I can do that, work that way. But if a Google Hangout comes up and now we've all got to be seen, well, now you sit up, you make sure you got some nice clothing on. You got to be careful what you see, what's shown behind you. It has to look like you're maybe in your den or something. Although with me, it usually, like a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to my boss on a Google Hangout, and one of my cats walked behind me on the couch. Which is one of the things I like about working from home. I get to spend more time with these cats. But it's really interesting, the things that we do, how many emails are we send out, or whether we're on chat, and how we manage ourselves in this remote world. A couple other things that I think are weird. Well, not weird, but are related to this ambiguity when you're working from home in relation to equity theory. This inability to make these comparisons because you can't see. One of the things that I think is happening is that how else do people prove that they're working? They have to kind of talk up more. So if you ever attend a webinar, you might feel an extra pressure to talk up just to show your boss and everyone else that you're working, you're contributing. Okay, well, if everyone feels that pressure, then these group meetings become maybe even less productive because everybody is talking in part just to be talking. Whereas if we were all meeting in person, you demonstrate that you're listening by sitting there. You might have a notebook or your computer is open and you're staring at the person who's talking and obviously intently listening. Hopefully you are. Everyone can see that. Now we can't see that. So I got to do a lot of talking during the Hangouts. It is a weird thing. Now, dissatisfaction. So what if in this crazy, weird world that we're in now, this remote working world, suppose I do think that someone keeps sending me some idle chats, and I think, that person is just not working as hard as I am. So what can I do about this? Well, how could I make that other person work harder? Well, you know what I could? I thought about this. I thought, well, what do you do now? I guess what I could do is forward more emails to that person and say, hey, Bill, can you take care of this one? And managing email at work is a crazy thing. Everybody's emailing everybody back, even when we might call. A habit of just using email. So I could maybe make you work harder by sending you more emails. So equity theory here would predict in these situations of dissatisfaction and situations of ambiguity that I might actually work less hard. But I think there's got to be some personality factors involved there too, because if you think that your boss thinks that you're not working hard, you could work actually harder at home, sending emails that aren't necessarily needed to be sent, just to show that you're working hard. And I think from a manager's perspective, the thing you have to do, if you're a manager of a team of people who work remotely, which is more and more common, you really do have to make an extra effort to let everyone know what everyone's doing, to make sure that the work is fairly distributed. That's not easy to do. Managers are going to have to address perceptions of inequity more often when workers are remote. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on the Psych Files. Take care.